welcome to another edition of Success Talk, Smart Talk with my dearest friends. You see here the handsome Mark Hayes, former Fox News anchor, two-time Emmy nominated, by the way, and Melissa Carter, who is a radio personality extraordinaire, the famous podcaster of She Persisted, Melissa Carter.
Oh, gosh, I forgot the hands. Dang.
No, it's funny. They don't show up when we show it anyway, but that's okay. So put your
They
hand
don't?
up.
Oh, okay. Say, wait.
Wait. We're all getting used to technology, people, so it's all good. It's all good. And we've come together because we want to give you all success tools and help and smart talk.
We got to talk about who's talking right here. It's Miss Aurea McGarry. So let's not, Emmy award-winning television host and philanthropist. So don't dismiss yourself. And if we do this Emmy stuff, two-time Emmy nominee, Emmy winner, let's just say no Emmy. So considered ever for an Emmy. Thank you, Mark, for that.
Love you. Yeah, well, we all have a voice and we love each other and we love you. And good, bad, and the ugly, we're jumping in this coronavirus because it seems to be, and it is consuming our lives. And we keep waiting for when is it going to be over and can we look back and just say, let's go back to normal. And going back to normal is looking a little different than what we thought maybe 2-3 months ago. We're doing this show right now. It's September 2020. So let's talk about this in the health and what's happening and some of the issues we're dealing with now as parents and entrepreneurs and business owners and just human beings. So go for it.
You know, I'm sorry, Melissa, but I did a podcast episode on this to get some insight for parents with a pediatrician in Beaufort. And one of the things that he talked about is the routine and making sure that kids develop and stay in a routine, even though all this chaos is going on around us. And he said, you know, the routine, you know, with diet, exercise, schoolwork, putting that routine in place will give that child stability that will help them function on a somewhat normal basis. Yeah. Now they're doing it, you know, in a vacuum because they're not with their friends.
Right.
But they said, if you get creative, you know, there are ways to keep things somewhat normal, but a routine was what this doctor had persisted. And I'll put a link to the podcast episode in there so any parents can go and see it. He was remarkably insightul.
What was his
and he
name?
had a lot of common sense. Dr. Rick Shelton.
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because I saw one too that was I read one that was talking about some crisis text help, and I'll put the link in as well. But one thing when you said that, Mark, and Melissa, you might agree with me, being a parent, it's so easy to say, keep your kids on a schedule. That sounds so wonderful. I have a teenager. It is so hard because they are so getting bored and stir crazy out of their mind to be that teacher and put that schedule is so difficult. But one thing I did like that it said there's some text help, like text home to this number to get some crisis help if you really do need it. Mm-hmm. But one thing I think I will incorporate, it said when they're on their school day, give them that lunch break and tell them this is your FaceTime your friends time. So find friends that are also on homeschooling or can be on the same schedule, or FaceTime them if they're their school and you're not, but have that interaction. It says don't forget to put social back into social media, because we were talking the negative, but there's still some good. And I think for us, we need to do that as adults too, because I can't remember now the last time I just got on Zoom just to have some fun and talk to like you guys, just to chit chat, bring our families in and just not have an agenda, not be working. We need that.
Well, I think, you know, going with Mark, I saw something from Johns Hopkins University, which I'll include the link to, and it not only talked about routine, but it talked about creativity and socialism, just like you said. Like, you know, Mark, you mentioned we're in a vacuum. Well, we have technology. We have the ability to talk to anybody. So the suggestions were like, if you and your friends want to have a book club, if you are musicians and you want to get together on Zoom and start writing a song, like setting goals was the other thing besides routine. And making sure that there are creative goals that these kids can do with their friends, because I have a 5-year-old, so it's easy for me to interact with my son and us do things together, which we do. But for teenagers who are, again, like you said, focusing maybe on the negativity of the things that they are not being able to do, you've got to shift that conversation to the things they're able to do. Like, this is a unique time and an opportunity for them to be able to do something that no other group of teens has been able to do. So create something, do something, be on Zoom, have a evening where you and your buddies are there every evening, or depending on the schedule and the school schedule, a couple times a week. You know, my friends and I have a friend in California We meet every week on Zoom. I have a movie club, same thing. We watch a movie during the week. We discuss it. Those are vital times for us to improve our mental health. And I absolutely encourage people not to let the schedule, you're at home. So don't let the schedule overwhelm you. You've complained about your schedule when you were at work. Well, now it's time to do it at home and be able to have more control over it. And you've got to schedule in social time for yourself.
And I want to know, Melissa, why I'm not on all these invitations. You know, I've not gotten these emails. I don't know what the problem is. I will have to check my spam account.
Oh, yes, you need to check that spam account.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Melissa. My son had a birthday back in April. And of course, he didn't go to high school here in the metro Atlanta area. He went to high school in New Hampshire. So most of his friends from college and high school are elsewhere, all over the country, you know, from Alaska to Maine to Boston. So for his birthday, Malcolm's sister-in-law helped his friends get on a Zoom call, and they all had a bottle, and they celebrated his birthday, but they had like 10 guys, you know, former hockey teammates and friends of his from all over the country. And they, you know, they just toasted. And, but you could see, like, he just lit up when he sat in front of the computer and saw all the guys.
That's
awesome. Mark, if you had watched our episode from last week, you know, there are those paid Cash App strippers that they could have.
Yes, exactly.
If you didn't see that episode, you can go back and look at it. But yes, Mark brought that up. That's true.
Cash App, remember?
You'll never live that down, Mark. You know that.
I know that. I know that. I'm glad my wife doesn't watch this.
I know your son. We talked, so I can.
I know. Please. Yeah, please.
But you're absolutely right. And the other thing about these Zoom, you know, meetings and calls and parties, because I know people who have wine nights every week with their friends and have a glass of wine. I have every month, a former coworker and I, who don't see each other anymore, have a happy hour where we have our drinks, we're sitting talking. But the thing is, you don't excuse yourself like you would at a restaurant or at a bar where you think, okay, I gotta drive to get home. I gotta be in bed at a certain time. I gotta get up at a certain time.
Drive.
The beauty of these Zoom calls is you're doing it in your own home. And so you get to spend really quality time without those distractions of, okay, well, let me time out when. And the thing is, if you don't want to hang out with somebody, like in the case of a restaurant, you don't even have to do a Zoom call with them. So, I mean, it's really not a bad situation for people like me who, you know, a little bit of a loner.
Have you guys seen the commercial? The commercial where the guy thinks he's on a Zoom call and he walks outside on the patio and he's in his underwear?
Oh no, I haven't seen that one yet.
I'll pop that link in, but I don't even know what the commercial is. It might be Snickers, but his wife looks at him and the other couple is sitting there, and you know his wife's like, "Oh my gosh, I thought we were on Zoom." His wife's like, "No."
It's going to be hard to go back to real life. It is. Yes. Oh my God.
Well, and ladies, let me just give it, ladies too. Like there's, you crop yourself because, you know, women don't have to wear bras. So if if it's noticeable, if you're not having a bra on, then you know you can
watch my pearls.
Yeah. Exactly. Bras.
Can I have my bra on? Thank you. No.
You know, just say it. You don't have to. Nobody would know. Nobody would know. Just saying.
Well,
be free. Just let them be free.
Yes, they gotta breathe. They gotta breathe.
Oh my God, it's gonna be re-entry. It's gonna be quite interesting whenever we go re-entry back into the real world and start being back together.
Well, but let me
go on our pajamas and forget.
Exactly, but let me tell you something. That exactly what you said. What makes it hard to go back into the real world? You've got to appreciate now, because the thing is, you have to kind of do a self-analysis. Are you a complainer? Because if you're complaining now and you were complaining when you were in the office and then you complain when you go back, then you have to kind of do a self-check.
Yeah.
because to me, there's no reason to complain.
So true.
So true. Yeah. We had a little bit of a, scare. We were talking about earlier, yesterday, my husband wasn't feeling well. I started not feeling good. And now that panic kind of sets in. Oh my gosh, what if? And so we actually did look up, where do you get tested? And, it's kind of having an emergency bag of what do you do? What is the protocol? Because you really keep thinking, it's out there, but it's not here. So when it does strike in a little bit of a tester, a little dry run, it's like, okay, get your ducks in a row. Because what do you all think about this? I had kind of an interesting experience last week on a post we did where I was shocked how many people don't even think this is real and it's fake. They're not doing any precautions. They're not wearing masks. They think all of us are idiots, even though people are dying around us that we know of, even if they're just like political faces or whatever, they're dying of COVID. they still don't think it's real, and they think it's all a big farce. What do y'all think about that now that affects everybody's mental health?
I don't understand it. But social media, I call them keyboard tough guys or Twitter tough guys. I mean, it allows you to say anything without consequence. You might get your account suspended or whatever, but people can say anything anymore. And
why do you think they don't believe? I don't understand that, or I'm just gullible.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Because if you go to the doctor, if you go to a medical professional's office, and I've been more times than I care to admit to recently.
Yeah.
They are taking every possible precaution to keep from spreading the disease. I mean, they're masked. When you get up, they are wiping down the area you sit in.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's not gotten any better. We're over 200,000 deaths.
So how can people say it's fake? That's what I don't get.
Ignorance.
But why would you say it?
That's all it is.
There were people out there who were trained to believe that, like Mark said, they're the tough guys. They're the people who were tough. They're the people who need proof. They're the people like somehow they feel better than other people. So you have to go out of your way in order to convince them that something is real or not. And it's like, I don't have time for you. Don't waste my time, because you are what's making this worse. And you are the ones that have caused 200,000 deaths. Yeah. And I've said this before on the show, like, I really wish that we had the technology to trace the virus from person to person, so these people know they contributed to the death of someone else. And I'm the one that, if we could, I would want them to be charged with assisted murder. I would, because the thing is, and it's one thing to be ignorant to a topic and then learn about it and educate yourself, but these fools are not willing to educate themselves, and they're calling us fools. Right. And so it's like, I don't have time for them, because it's like, you know what, we're supposed to be humanity and love each other, and we're supposed to come together. And these people, their lives are just as valuable as ours. And so we just have to figure out a way to come together. And for me to be able to still care about these people, I have to ignore this. I have to ignore them and just do what I've got to do to survive.
Because it's so not fair. I went to pick up carry out the other night at a hibachi restaurant, and in the waiting area, waiting to be seated, there were 4 or 5 people in there without masks. What about, okay, I understand.
You're the bad guy if you say something.
Right, and you feel like your rights are being infringed upon for having to put on a mask. What about my right to walk around in public, public places, in places of business, and not be exposed to a deadly virus? Where is our love for our fellow neighbor and human being? I mean, what happened to empathy?
That's my question. What happened to love?
And here's the other thing. We don't even know our neighbors anymore. When I was a kid, it was nothing for, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson or Mr. and Mrs. Ford or Mr. and Mrs. Dolman to say, hey, Mark, cut it out, or I'm going to tell your parents. Right. Or I'll get you a switch. I mean, it was not, now that's a lawsuit. I mean, we don't even know each other anymore, because
I'm going to intervene and say that all of us are a part of media. Now, I love media, and I will always be a part of media. But I do think that media has contributed to this, because media realized that fear sells ads. And fear is what gets you to watch television, and fear brings in money. Exactly, Mark.
Like the car accident.
Yeah. So we have, the thing is, I going back to the self-analysis, you have to look at what you're entertained by. Like, I'm going to sound like my parents, but the thing is, like, you have to be consistent. So where's the empathy? Where's our fellow neighbor? Well, we watch shows all the time about crime, about solving murders, about, the top shows are crime shows. So we entertain ourselves with the ideas of murder and rape and robbery and all that. So of course, we're going to get to the point we don't trust our neighbors. Right. So we have to understand that you have to be consistent in what you are putting into your system to know what you're putting out. And so I think we are a product of our own environment. We created this. And so now we got to figure out what to do. And I'm not saying crime should go away. I don't want to, I'm that old woman. No, I'm not, I'm not, what's the term? I'm not trying to be what's the woman's name now that's associated with somebody?
Karen. A Karen?
Karen, yes. I don't want to be a Karen. Okay? I don't want to be a Karen. But I do think that the goal is love, right? That's the goal. That's supposed to be the goal. And I think that's what we're losing, is the fact that love is supposed to be the goal. So all that we're doing We're supposed to get back together, and I don't know. We really got to do that.
And I'm gonna put a link to it in the chat.
Okay.
I saw the most amazing tweet from Rex Chapman. He's a great follow, by the way, former basketball player, University of Kentucky in the NBA. Posts the most amazing videos. But somebody had their phone rolling when a young lady was trying to buy some diapers. It looked like a Target, and she didn't have enough money. And so she told the cashier, it was like a $24 bill with the diapers. And so she told the cashier to take the diapers off. She didn't have enough money.
Oh no.
The man behind her stepped up, handed the cashier's card and said, put the entire thing on my card. I literally almost cried. I almost cried. And I'm going to put the tweet in there so people can see.
I love videos like that.
But it had been retweeted thousands of times, and with people quoting the tweet saying, this is the America I know.
Yeah.
You know, because we're better than this.
They just don't get the media attention.
Yes.
It's a true thing. Being in the
good news does
industry,
not sell.
Those good news shows don't make it. The reality, the beating everybody up, the conflict.
But that was on social media. But that was on social media, and that's the only way people saw it. So again, when people criticize social media, guess what? There is information out there that you want, but you've got to find it.
Exactly. There's so many good videos. Yes.
You have to take self-responsibility. I'm sick. This is where I'm going to sound like my parents, but I am sick and tired of people not taking responsibility for their own actions. I'm sick of it. And so if you think that your life is terrible, I was about to say another word. If you think your life is terrible, then fix it. Do something. Make change. Quit complaining. Move on.
Like you said, Melissa, look in the mirror. Like, do I always look at the bad? I'm always finding fault with everything, because it is a self-reflection. Or do I always find the good in it? So this is what it is, and I see something good in it. It's you have to do some self-reflection on that, because you will notice, a lot of people sometimes will get mad at me. Aurea, why are you always so positive? Why, why? You can't always be this happy. And it's
can't be happy.
Oh,
how dare you?
I had somebody do that to me. Came to my house, this was a while ago, and my brother was just got out of surgery for cancer. And I remember I was back in the days I was doing direct sales. I never knew she had a problem with me. I was running my Mary Kay unit. I was winning, cars, and I just living life. People don't know that just because you choose to be happy and find the good doesn't mean there's a lot of bad going on in the background. I just deal with it differently. And she came to my house and says, nobody likes you. Nobody can be as happy as you are. Nobody can have that much joy in their life. And she goes, and God can't do that much good for you and bad for everybody else. I mean, laid into me that I was too happy. And I told her, I said, do you realize my brother is just now getting out of cancer surgery, and I really can't deal with this right now? And I just started to cry. I was not expecting that attack, but that kind of happens throughout my life. People say, you just can't be that happy. It's like, I'm not saying I don't have problems. I'm saying I just choose not to throw up on everybody around me.
That's not an indictment on you, Aurea. That is an indictment on that young lady. That person's life is nowhere near where she wants it to be. So they project onto you.
And then I'm sad that they're sad.
It's all about
mindset. And you can't.
It's all about mindset. It's responsibility.
Agreed.
Think about it. As entrepreneurs, and as entrepreneurs, if we woke up every day, well, it was me, I'm not going to make any money today.
It's harder to be that way than it is to be happy.
Everything. Yes, it takes more work to be miserable. Just like on social media, it takes work to go find a fight or to go pick a fight.
And doesn't it feel better to make somebody feel better today and to use social media for good?
Well, it makes me feel better to feel better myself. Like, again, I think we're so consumed with what other people think about us. What do you think about yourself? And if you're okay with you, then it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. And so I think that again, self-reflection, you just gotta be happy.
Really do.
I promise you, if you're good with yourself, then you'll attract that into your life. Like you will shed off all of this other stuff.
And let those meanies go away. Bad old meanies.
But if you look at the research and you look at people who actually study this stuff, and like Jack Canfield, the book, The Success Principles, he talks so much about mindset and choosing to be positive, choosing to do the right thing, choosing to have the energy that, like you just said, Melissa, attracts other positive people. you know, you attract the same kind of energy that you give off.
And we do become like the people we hang out with. So I don't
Yes.
hang out with people that they can attack me, but they're only going to get that chance one time.
Right.
You know, they are cut off because a lot of people fake being your friend until something like that happens. Then you realize, okay, cut them off. Because I don't choose to have any of that in my circle. And Melissa, you said that some really nice things about, you're kind of saying, oh, I'm going to sound like my mother now. I really want to address your mother in the background.
Yes.
Please tell us in the background, because your moms are good influences, you know, to us. I know in our world, our moms were amazing. Tell us a little about what's happening behind you.
Well, yes, my mother, my hero, Millie Pete, if you listen to the radio, that's her nickname. And she made the mistake of telling me that was her nickname when I was in high school. That was her nickname in college. And so I never called her mom again. It was always Millie Pete. So on the air, I called her Millie Pete. But
is that her behind you?
That's her behind me. So this is my mom, self-portrait. She was an artist. She was an art teacher and an artist.
And a musician.
That's a mandolin. And she passed away in May. And so when these guys, we were on a Zoom call off air, and I was in this room. And so Aurea is like, you got to go back. So this whole room is just a gallery of all of her stuff.
Nice.
And so I decided to come in here. But yeah, mom was, I'm grateful that I had her as a mother, and she was a huge influence. That's another one of her paintings.
That painting is beautiful, Melissa, holding the baby. I mean, are these people that modeled for her, or pictures, or she just makes
pictures? I mean, most of the time she would have to have something to go by. Her specialty was portraits. So, and again, I'll change position in here for another show, but yeah, if she saw a picture that really struck her, she would commission portraits where people would sit for, but most of the stuff I have is stuff that she did this to pass the time. Like, she loved it so much. That was her thing. Yeah.
But you're going to have that for generations to pass along, and you can give those to your son, and he can give them to his kid, and her legacy is going to live on. Her creativity, the meaning in those photos, because I bet every time you look at one of those pictures, like when I do, my dad has passed, but my mom is still here. But when I see pictures of my mom and dad, I think back to that time, and I think back where we were, and a smile always comes to my face, and you realize how blessed you were.
Yes. Well, Mr. Carter does remote learning, and usually this is behind him when he does remote learning, which I didn't plan. But then there was one day when I reflected on it, I thought, I love the fact that his grandmother is there with him learning, because she was very proud of him. So I agree. This is amazing. And it goes back to our conversation about goals. Like, so again, if you are, here's a creative idea. So if you have a child who is an artist, who loves art, then have them do several pictures and then decide to have a Zoom showing of the pictures with their friends. I mean, there's creative ways in order for you to set goals during the rest of this pandemic and be able to fulfill those goals and have the child feel very fulfilled and satisfied. And also, to a point that Mark and I gave weeks ago, that they're getting experience in doing something that they love. And so to have the experience of trying to do kind of a Zoom art gallery for themselves will benefit them in the future. So.
Great idea. And a good thing about being homeschooled now, everybody being home, for our side of the brain that me and my family and my kids always have, is the creative side. So being in school is always more difficult because it's that classroom, that reading, writing, arithmetic, it is that. And there's not a lot of time for the arts. A lot of schools have taken art out, and whether it's theater or acting, but even if you get a little art class, a little theater class, it's not as much as you can do now. Really gravitate to this. If your kids are like us that are creative, they could be doing their own plays. They could be doing their own videos. They could be making their own pottery, whatever it is. Think of that as school time. That certainly is, because your child may not ever want to or have the desire to grow up to do anything with science or math or English. Their side is over here. So don't just make them be home and do what they normally would do in school all day long. Get that creativity. You can go outside. You can collect bugs. You can start an ant farm. You can do things that when you're stuck in school, like you said earlier, Melissa, take advantage of this, that we're not stuck in school. Make your school the outside right now. Make your gym the great outdoors, where maybe we're going back to the way it should have been, instead of all inside, closed up, traffic, 9 to 5. Hello, this could be a restart and a reset. And we never think about, oh, can't wait to go back to normal. Really? What is normal?
Well, and I think you got, I'm sorry, Mark, I was just going to say, for a lot of people, this is what you asked for. Like, we're in a situation, it was forced upon us. by a virus, but you got what you asked for. You're home, you're with your family. So take advantage of it. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, no worries. But people have been homeschooling their kids for years.
Oh, yes.
And these are some of the
Decades.
most successful people in our society, right?
Yep.
You're not losing anything by homeschooling.
Mhm.
If you take the time to find the resources that you need. If you're struggling or you're deficient or you
Computer.
feel like your child is not getting it in an area, reach out with the Google machine and find somebody to help
Find
you.
help.
The
I think
Google
that's a good-
machine is amazing.
Google machine. And Google machine. I think the theme of this particular episode is reach out to get help. You know,
Yes.
do self-reflection, be positive no matter what's hitting you. But then we're not alone. We really do have the Google machine. We do have the internet. We've always had it now
Yes.
for a very long time. You can reach out and get help. You can join a wine party if you're lonesome. You can join all sorts of different things.
You can
But
start
it is-
one.
Start one, yeah, that's
Yep.
a good idea. But with schooling too, and like me, you don't have to be locked into a box. Like, this is what my school day has to look like. Your school day for your child could be all outside on the porch. It could be something you could have, PE 5 times during the day and little short segments of math, reading, arithmetic, whatever it takes to get things done. However your child learns best, embrace it and stop trying to be what you think of as the perfect school marm. And they have all this. They may not have 45 minutes of math at home when it's school. That was there a lot of time. It might be broken up. Just embrace it. Don't be hard on yourself as a parent, and go with how your child learns best too. And then reach out and get help if you need it.
Absolutely. Speaking of reaching out and getting help, that same pediatrician was, and I had a conversation just this week about some of the mental health issues that kids were experiencing because they're stressed, right?
Yeah.
And there may be too much helicopter parenting going on, and you may find yourselves stressed out, both child and parent. Mental health is critical. And I have a fraternity brother that's a psychologist, and he's doing virtual sessions with people.
Yes. Yes.
And I had another friend call me. He was concerned about the mental health of a friend that we went to college with. And I said, FaceTime him so you can see him and see how he responds to you, because you need to see the way he reacts, the way he said, and it all started from his social media posts. He said, wow, I'm really concerned about, some of the things that he's posting. I really don't know what to do. I said, FaceTime him. FaceTime.
Yeah, that's a great.
Because mental health is it's real. You have to pay attention to it.
Yes.
Well, and I think that we're coming up on those months where depression usually is natural, where we're getting the colder months and the darker months is time, the time's going to change. Right.
Did you hear about the time change? They may not do the time change. Is that why?
That could be it.
I was wondering.
Well, they've talked about not,
really not doing it now. I mean,
Right.
it's like we may not fall back this year because of COVID. And I thought, well, maybe that's because they want the days to stay brighter because of less depression. Would that be why?
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Makes
I
sense.
hadn't heard that, but
yeah, I just was reading about that.
Yeah, but some also insurance companies, if you want professional help, I know of some that have foregone any copay for virtual sessions with therapists.
I've heard of that.
Because they want to make sure that everybody's mental health. So again, self-reflection, you've got, don't be embarrassed to say you're not handling this well, because I can tell you there are days I don't handle this well. There are days that I give into it. I cry. I tell myself it's good. You feel better tomorrow. I distract myself. I mean, so we're all in this together, and we really are. So.
And again, but when we were having normal days, there were days that we cried.
Right.
There were days that we had too much going on, and we're like, oh my gosh, I just want to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is no different.
Right.
The only difference is that we feel sort of boxed in, and we don't know how much longer it's going to take for us to get out of this situation.
And all three of us have that looming, we really don't want to get this. What would happen if one of us got this? So there's still that looming fear of that is out there, that COVID, and we really don't want to get this, but what if we did? So, getting our things in order, just making sure, we're ready to, fight it if we have to, but we really don't want to.
Right.
So, then somebody said that was really smart. We're not living day by day anymore. It's moment by moment. Because in one moment, Melissa, we were talking that I could be thinking, oh my gosh, there's COVID. What do I do if I get it? Well, I would just pray for a miracle, but I really need to make sure I have my will in place. What if I live? And that's within like a 30-second moment. So
Well,
that's
but I
just
will
like,
say I did that. I went through that in March, and I did that in March. So, I even wrote a letter to Mr. Carter. And so in case something happened. So there was a part of me when this all started that I was having panic attacks for that very reason. Like, I don't want to put my son in that situation. But I thought, okay, what can I do? I mean, it's up to the universe, it's up to God. So all I can do is try to communicate with him as best I can. And again, have my affairs in order. And once I did that, I let it go. And
that's
so it's
smart,
done.
yeah.
And you just, because again, to Mark's point, mental health, you can't just chew on something over and over and over again because you think you're going to fix it. You're not going to fix the situation. You're not going to fix any of that. So living in fear, regardless whether it's pandemic or not, but just understand that living in fear is no way to live. And maybe this is a great opportunity for you to realize how much you may have been doing that and get out of it.
Right.
Yeah, and you're right. Once you get things on paper, once you take, like what I teach on like procrastination, once you stop procrastinating something, get that done if you're worried about it, and then it's off your plate, then it is what it is. You're ready.
You enjoy life. It doesn't, and that's the thing, we've talked about before. Regardless of what takes me out, my goal is, and the pandemic has helped me focus on that. There are things that this opportunity has really helped me with, and I'm grateful for. And that is that I want to live until the very last moment. I don't want to, I want to
whatever
face
that moment is.
Yeah, I want to face death with a smile on my face, knowing that I did it right.
Living
and I don't know if I could have done that before.
Yep, living your legacy moment by moment. Yep, absolutely. If your parents, all right, let's in closing, because I know we got to get to our not so smart section, but we've been talking about our moms and our parents and a little bit about our heritage throughout this conversation. Why don't we end the conversation with, if your mother, father, grandparent, pick one, could give the viewers a piece of advice. Let's give our viewers a piece of advice that would have come from somebody smart in our heritage, whether it's a mom, a grandma, grandparent, somebody. What would they say now? Like, you've been talking a lot about your mom, Melissa. What would she say right now today to you or to your son or to the viewers?
She would just be happy. I mean, I think that, she was born in 1929. So she was born the year of the Depression, and she saw a lot in her life and lived to be 91 years old. And she did pass in May, but it was not COVID related. She was 91.
91.
Yeah. And
she celebration.
And I think it's cool. She actually passed on her birthday, which I think is kind of neat. So, because who gets that opportunity? But I think that she was always a proponent for the power of positive thinking. That's what she would always tell me, because I was kind of a nervous kid and kind of an overthinker and was stressed out a lot when I was younger. And I think that was just her message, is to relax and be happy regardless of what's going on. And so that's what she would say during this. Like, she did not get to the point where she really understood what was going on, and we didn't share with her what was going on. So but I think that had she been aware of the pandemic, that's exactly, you do what you can and then leave the rest up to God, universe, whatever it is that you believe in.
Oh, she did a great job with you, Melissa. I would have loved to meet her. And I'm just so glad you have those paintings behind her. Oh my gosh. And Mark, what about you?
So my dad was the hardest working man that I know. He had 2 jobs for as long as I could possibly remember. And that was his whole deal. His whole deal was, I'm just going to work harder and I'm going to make it happen. But he would tell us today to work harder and smarter. Fix what you can fix, do what you can do, and let everything else take care of itself. But you work as hard as you possibly can on doing the things that you need to do and being the best person you can be.
I love that.
And that's exact. If he could call me today from the pearly gates, that's what he would say. Are you working hard enough? Do you feel like you're doing enough?
I love that.
And let the rest take care of itself. Control what you can control.
That is
the rest,
special living. It's very special living.
Yeah.
And he's the one that worked with special needs kids. Is that correct? Yes. So what a wonderful man.
That's awesome. That's because you're all such good people because of all that's been poured into you. My mom was, my mom was that cosmopolitan model, but she was so funny. She's like an I Love Lucy. She was just beautiful, glamorous, all that, but she was just silly and wonderful and loved to laugh. And she poured in me as my best friend. She was one of those parents that was my best friend, but she was still mom. But I did for her because I loved her and I didn't want to disappoint her. But she thought I could do no wrong as far as encourage me. You want to be a show business? Great. Let's send you to school. You want to do this? Great. Let's, whatever, you can do no wrong. Whatever. She really felt the world was my oyster. So she would be saying to me now, live your life to its fullest. I really live my legacy because of her. Because she'd be like, just live today, do whatever you want, fail forward to success. Who cares if you don't do this well? Go give it a whirl. Why not you? You're beautiful, you're talented. I mean, she was that kind of cheerleader that I hear her in my voice all the time. She's what makes me happy because of all of her positive that was poured into me that, yeah, sure, I'm going to fail, but I'm still going to smile going through it. I'm still going to have tried because what do you have to lose?
What a wonderful woman.
I tell everybody just,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Do something today that makes you happy, that you want to do, and you're beautiful, you're wonderful just the way you are, and you're everything you need to be right now to do whatever it is you were intended to do. So stop thinking all the reasons why you can't, or the COVID, or the pandemic. Find a way.
I'm going to think about your parents too. It's like they're giving me advice. But if you don't mind, I want to just share with the audience. Think about this: if you're a parent, even a grandparent, like an example or the paintings behind me, like I watched my mother paint. She didn't teach me how to paint. I mean, I do some kind of art. I'm not as good as she was, but I observed her. And so much of what I learned, I observed through her. She was the woman that never complained about how she looked. She never complained about her weight. She never complained. She didn't teach me as a woman to complain about myself. And that was not because she told me, it's because I watched her. So during this pandemic, if your children are stressed out, like you guys were talking about, are they stressed out because of them? Or are they stressed out because you're stressed out? Yeah. So your children are watching you. So make sure that you're a good role model, like our parents have been.
They do what you do, not what you say. I learned that a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
Do what you do, not what you say. So
I watched my mother for many, many years cook everything slow. She cooks it slow. So that's all I do.
I like that.
I bet it's great. The flavors, that's great.
Take your time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't cook. I mean, I would watch her. I'll watch her.
Crock pot, nice and slow and easy.
Honey, I ruin things in the crock pot. Anyway,
that's a whole other cooking show.
I should be in Not So Smart. I should tell one of my cooking stories in Not So Smart.
Oh my
God. That's a fun thing. Not so smart. We've all done the not so smart moments. So speaking of which, let's get to our not so smart moments and end on a high note because we choose to be happy because it's fun to seek out fun, goofy things instead of what's happening in the news and what's the car crashes today. Seek out fun things. So Melissa, let's start with you this week. What's not so smart?
Well, I'll try to be loving to Cunningham, okay? Kate Cunningham, because she's choosing to be happy. She's 38 years old, so we should congratulate her because she's celebrating her 1-year wedding anniversary with her husband. Okay. Her husband is a tree.
Wait a minute.
Don't make me laugh.
What?
Bladder issues.
She says it's the best thing that she's ever done, that her husband's name is Elder. Elder, and he resides in the Rimrose Valley County Park. And that's her husband. So I don't know why in England they allowed her to.
It's in England.
Spot forward.
And that explains it.
There you go. Well, there you go.
Anybody crazy could be living in America and do that.
Now, I'm not sure what our parents would say about her. Is it you live your life? But I don't think Millie Pete would give her a wedding gift. But so not so smart, but she's living her life. So
okay.
Bet she wins all the arguments.
Maybe she's bats in her belfry or squirrels in the attic,
Speaking of Great Britain, I've got a not so smart from Great Britain.
Thank you, Melissa, for that one.
Yeah, that Melissa, that's hard to beat. All right, but take a look at this one. This is from the social media sphere. This was a tweet from the police department there, GMP Rochdale. So this is one of their police districts. And so a male phoned in requesting help because his girlfriend had locked him in some handcuffs and they couldn't find the key. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Now he wanted police to come help, but he didn't want them to damage the handcuffs because he said they're expensive.
How what are they, diamond encrusted?
I can't use them again if he can't find the penny.
Well, the things people think
If you
about.
can't get out of them, then what? You're just gonna walk around with a cuff?
Yeah, no.
But don't break them. Oh my gosh, things people think of.
You know, this
So,
was 4:30
well,
in the morning.
Yeah.
4:30 in the
Did he
morning.
get out of them? Did he break them?
Yeah, but now police refuse to comment on whether or not they damaged the handcuffs.
Oh, no.
Well, here's what I love about that story, because it's not so smart, but it's the conversation they had before calling the cops. So I'm assuming that all the antics were said and done at that point, because it's like, well, we're in this situation. So yes, so we're just going to go ahead and finish it out. Then are we really going to call? Is there anybody we can call? Do you have any buddies that have a tool that, okay, I guess we have to call. So that's
They didn't
where
want to cut them.
I want to know the conversation.
Would have loved to have been a fly on that wall.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Not so smart.
They could have gotten out if somebody was willing to cut it, but don't damage the handcuffs, God forbid.
So you folks out there with handcuffs, keep the keys in a safe place.
Get an extra key. Make sure there's an extra key. Yeah.
You know, I just, okay, a little TMI. All right, so let me do something that has to do with like Disney. Take it back. No, kidding.
Okay. Awkward transition.
I love it.
More wholesome.
Well, we were talking about school, and just to, you'd like to see all the PSAs, you know, stay in school, kids, stay in school. Well, during this COVID, it might be a little more difficult. We were just having that conversation. So I thought this tattoo was appropriate for a reason why to stay in school, because it's cool to stay in school.
Cool.
Yeah, you're just,
Wowzers.
Spelling is
Don't
important.
add an S. You
I
just can't add an S to cool.
H-U-S-C-
And make a word.
O-O-L. Okay, great. All right.
What I love about this is
Oh
the
my
fact that this
Tattoo.
person found a cheap that it was okay to go cheap on a tattoo. Yet we had our previous couple that paid more money probably for their handcuffs.
Exactly.
So-
And it goes to the point, you know, how kids always say, well, I'm never going to use this school stuff again. It's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, you will.
Even a
you
tattoo
will.
artist needs to know how to spell, or at
Oh,
least know
yeah.
where to find the correct spelling.
And you couldn't draw a better bust than that? I mean,
Don't let your, I thought your mom wasn't here to see him.
I was going to say yes. Billy P could have done a much better job than
got a tattoo artist than you do.
Oh my God. Well, on that lovely note, kids stay in school. Adults might want to go back to school if that's, you know,
Hello.
Yeah.
get some education. On that note, too, during this coronavirus, how about learning something new? On my end, something I love and I enjoy, and do what you enjoy, is the master class. I don't know if you all,
Yes.
that maybe we'll do a show on some of the master class we're learning.
I've done it.
They have them on fashion, on, I mean, Ron Howard and directing and
On things I don't care about. I watch the
Yeah.
things I don't care about, because now I'm learning about you know,
Yes.
how to negotiate in a crime scene.
yes.
You know, like all these random things.
And they're good.
Find anything you love, learn
Yes,
about
very
and
good.
learn. Just fill it up. You know, it
Yeah.
helps ward off dementia anyway. If you keep your mind learning. So whatever it is you learn about, learn. So it may not be spelling, but learn something that you love. And I love the master class. If you all have a quick link to something you love learning on, what is it?
Spanish. My
Ooh.
son is doing Spanish.
Where do you
His
learn
school teaches preschool. I got flashcards,
Okay.
and I'll put a
Learn a
link
new language.
to some of the YouTube videos. Again, I'm learning at the kindergarten level, but I'm still learning, because that's the
Yeah.
pace
Yes.
I need to be at. But I
Learn
want to
something
learn with
new.
him. Yeah,
Absolutely. Mark, what are you
No,
learning new?
That's one of the things I have committed to, is learning a new language, and Spanish is going to be I took 7 years of
We
French,
should.
and all I could say was un souvenir when I got to Paris. So I want to be a little
Perfect,
bit better
perfect.
with my Spanish.
Spanish would come in handy. I think they all need to learn
Yes.
Spanish because all our neighbors are Spanish.
Muy bien,
Yes.
muy bien. See?
Mucho
Yeah.
caliente. That's all I know.
Huh? No, I'm just kidding.
Let us know if you find a good tool. I always wondered, and that would be interesting to find out from you guys, whether you use Rosetta Stone or Babbel. Do those things really
Mhm.
work? That could be another show to do if they really work. Because sitting in a classroom and learning all the conjunctives and how to put together a sentence, I'd be more apt to learn conversational so I could communicate, because I don't need to get a good grade in Spanish. I'd love to know how to communicate better, because I used to take it.
Yeah.
But let me know if you take
No,
anything like that.
well, I'll tell you really quickly. Most of my friends who English is their second language, and they were the immigrants that came to this country, television is how they learned English.
Yes.
So get on Telemundo, get on a Spanish language channel, and just watch it all day. And that probably will help all of us to
What
do
a
that.
great
Well, I watch a
idea.
lot of Telemundo. I'm just going to tell you.
I'll tell my daughter that because she's in high school
Those
Spanish.
telenovelas are really, really
I was going to
exciting.
say, yeah. and, the,
The Lincoln.
and the drama. Yes.
And how about every woman that's ever starred in a telenovela is like an 11? Well, how does that
Oh,
happen?
I know, right? Yeah.
I mean, and the
I'm
guys,
I'm not complaining, but yes, you're right. That's
There you go.
the guys too. Every one of them is like
That's the
dashing.
way to
It's like-
learn.
exactly.
Oh my gosh. All right, so clearly again, on Success Talk, we've gone in different directions.
yeah.
So you
I've
never
taken
know.
it right down the rat
always
hole.
takes
Love
us
it.
there. Mark always takes us there. I'm just
Mark
saying.
takes it every time. Hey,
That's
Melissa,
why I like him. That's why I like him so much.
We're a good team. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much again for giving us another wonderful, entertaining time on Success Talk, Smart Talk, when we talk about things smart and not so smart. And if you all have any questions or comments or any topics you want us to talk about, then please put them in the comments, in the chats, direct message us, follow us all on social media. You can find us under our names everywhere. And guys, thank you so much. And Melissa, again, thank you for sharing that beautiful background on your mom
Yes.
today.
Of course.
Keep that up.
of
We
course.
want to see more. Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a great rest of your day. And we are with you. Everybody wave goodbye like we always do. See you next time.
Bye.